a heat wave you can have.
I actually started from a place of researching different types of rhythm and other art forms, and I really approached my dance making through, I'll say for example in poetry, I looked at different types of meter in poetry and how I could express different poetic meters through the body in space, what an accent would look like in the body. A short accent versus a long syllable, and how different parts of words could be accented. I actually, for the visual rhythm having to do with drawing and painting, for one of the sections I actually had the dancers create finger painting. I gave them specific directions and had them experience painting, and then took those ideas and developed them in the piece. Well, it's fantastic. It just feels like another performance. I've been here for 3 years now and performed on this stage many, many times in many pieces. And it kind of, although it's a culminating work and it's the end of my graduate career, I feel like it's the beginning of something else. I feel like this is another chance to perform, and that this is not the end of this piece, that it will go further, I will develop it further, that there's more to come. So it's kind of an exciting time.
I wanted to work with music that was thick with musical instrumentation and vocal ranges in order to enhance my choreographic exploration. Well, the first piece is to Stereophonics. The name of the band is Stereophonics, and the title is Maybe Tomorrow. And I decided to stick with male singers, still researching on why. But I enjoyed their range and what was being, as far as the emotional response that I was receiving from the first piece, the second and the third and the fourth. I really enjoy working with Bare Naked Ladies because they're one of my favorite groups, and I love Rusted Root and Goo Goo Dolls. So for me, just being able to work with these groups that I've never been able to really work with before, and really finding new ways of moving and exploring in the music, was what really drove me to want to work and research this more often. I had tendencies to want to ride what they call the pulse. It's an ongoing downbeat to the music. And my biggest struggle was to find dynamic range with my movement. And so choreographically, as a choreographer, I really had to find those dynamic climaxes to really make the pieces look interesting and not riding that pulse to where it kept it on this low, medium level. It's been a long time. I actually came here as an undergraduate too, so it's a dual exploration for me as an undergrad and then as a graduate. My time here has been wonderful. I love the faculty that has been here and that is still here, that is new here as well. They've really challenged me. They've definitely, they don't sugarcoat anything, so it's nice to get upfront and honest information to allow me to further my expertise in my career and my exploration.
I guess the whole concept was, I'm very interested in creating meaning through movement. I think the human body just within itself has a lot of text. You can read a lot from people's bodies, and obviously dance is a whole discipline based on the body, and I think it's not a very well understood discipline, and I think that by making it accessible to people, by using familiar signs, familiar gestures, familiar things, it can sort of open a door for people to have to gain an understanding of what modern dance might be about. I was also really interested in exploring sort of this human condition of technology and how I think the use of technology has drawn us away from actually interpersonal communication. And so much communication is done now over the internet, through emails, texting on phones, cell phones, so that a lot of the day-to-day human contact that you might have with people is done through technology now. Sort of going along with this exploration of sort of the human condition, I wanted to specifically choose music that highlighted human voice. So each of the pieces that I chose to use were very different in style, but all were very focused on the sound of human voice. The solo piece is a very operatic piece. I was also interested in that because it was written by a female in the 19th century, which is very unusual for women to have composed in that era. So that interested in me, and she based a lot of her compositions off one of my favorite composers, who's Chopin. The duet piece also has human voice accompaniment that is a very different feeling to it. It's a little bit more of an abstract sound, and it's a little bit more guttural. They're not actually singing words, they're just making noises. And the piece that I chose for the group dance is sort of a sacred, ritualistic sounding piece of music that's sung by a full choir. Again, it's in Latin, so most people will not understand the lyrics to it, but it created a certain feeling within me when I heard it that really went along with what I wanted to express in the dance. In the duet piece, for example, I worked specifically, I wanted to hone in on literal gestures and gestures that were very communicative, person to person, talking in a conversation, you might have these gestures show up, or gestures from an everyday type of situation. I would just give the dancers a situation and say, you two are fighting. What are you going to do? How are you going to move? What is your body language going to say towards each other? So we didn't actually use vocalization in these little improvisations, but I gave them a scenario, I described what they were feeling, what they might be thinking, what they might be going through, and they would respond with movement, and we sort of just took bits and pieces of that improvisational material to then create the dance. In the group piece, my process was a little bit more focused on imagery and movement. I would give the dancers an idea of what they were feeling. In the very beginning section, in the walking section, I had them, that was one of the very first things that we did in rehearsal, was just walking and actually looking at how people walk, and then taking that and abstracting the timing of it, and how would you break down your walk and make it really, really slow. I think I've learned a lot, obviously, about myself in terms of what I feel my strengths are and what my interests are. I've learned a lot about just the field of dance and the opportunities that there are that I never would have imagined, having a job in working in dance in a certain field. And it is a little bit bittersweet that this is the last concert. I have happy feelings about that being the last concert in a way, because I'm ready to move on, but it's also a little bit sad.